look at what transpired before 1994, you knew some of these leaders. Can you tell us about some of those leaders that you met when you were in exile and worked with?
Well, really, everybody who is here, those I knew and didn't know, were actually extremely important contributors to our liberation. The well-known names would include people like Duma Nokwe, Florence Mposho, and quite a few others. The most important thing here today, in my opinion, is that symbolically, the people who left this country to fight for our liberation and were not able to come back walking are now back symbolically, as they use a bad word in English, remains. The comrades who are here are a reminder to the people of today that there was a struggle, and this struggle resulted in the separation of families. I think the most important people here today are the families of the people who really knew that their relatives, their aunts, their mothers had gone to exile, but never to come back. Well, they are back now, however symbolically.
Well, they come back at a time where the Congress movement, the African National Congress, your organization, lost the majority in terms of governing. They come to a different South Africa that they didn't think it will happen at some point in time, that the ANC will lose power. When they were fighting, they were hoping that ANC will be in power. Yes, the government of national unity. But as a veteran of the ANC, this moment and also looking back at what transpired during elections.
Well, there's no doubt about it. They would be very disappointed that the ANC is no longer able to hold power without support.
Just to indicate that
it would be a huge disappointment, and we got to this position because of the manner in which we handled freedom. The manner in which
the total number
we really failed to relate to the people properly. And in the end, they said, listen, we no longer understand you, we're no longer behind you. So we ended up with 40% support. That would be disappointing. They would be hoping that we will use this moment to regroup and make sure that what they died for is realized, that the poverty that continues to stalk this nation diminishes, that the wide gap in incomes, that the crime really that has run away with the nation, and all of those things, the unemployment, are resolved.
Let's look at what transpired in the Congress movement as we see families arriving. The MK, is MK still ANC property? We saw the breakaway. What's your view in terms of now that you have these remains coming home and these were MK?
Well, unfortunately, the people who call themselves MK, the MK people are the ones that were returning home today, some of them anyway. It's unfortunate that we were so relaxed that we allowed people to hijack the name of an organization, of people who discharge their responsibility. The MK was set up to make sure that they join forces to fight for the liberation of this country, and that mission was accomplished when in 1991, I think it was, MK was dissolved. For the ANC to be unable to control the sprouting of an MK that has nothing to do with MK is very sad indeed. It would sadden them. Yeah.
And finally, in terms of 2026, ANC is going to face another challenge in relation to local government with the formation of the government of national unity. Was this a better idea?
Well, you know, this is a wake-up call. The 40% was a wake-up call. The veterans of the ANC have been saying all the time that, guys, unless we mend our ways, the people are going to really throw us out. In 2026, if this renewal that is talked about is not actually implemented, if we don't start seriously and say step number one in renewal is making sure that to turf out people who have got nothing to do with the ANC as on the list, to give you an example. It's not just the people who are on the list in Parliament and in other areas. We should not be on those lists. But until renewal is being delayed by the existence within our ranks of people who have nothing to do with liberation. They must be turfed out. Otherwise, as long as you keep them there and you want to do solidarity with them, you lose the people even worse in 2026 when the municipal elections take place. That's going to happen.
Thank you so much for sharing that history in terms of the people we are about today. Thank you so much, sir.